Would you ever imagine as a school district trying to beg for a grant to combat bullying? Like you are so begging. You want to beg for your you want to beg the school district, hey, we need bullying grants. You scream, shout, throw tantrums so loud until you get what you want. Well, in Cal, that's exactly what happened. They received a grant to combat bullying. And it's about time that the Coastal Band receives grants. And part of the grant is an anonymous online survey that were responsive to help the school build a strong and healthier environment. So let's take a look.
The Calallen School District is getting a grant that will be used to combat bullying. The district was awarded the Stronger Connections grant. It includes an online anonymous survey that will be sent out throughout the district. That survey will ask questions about topics that include bullying on campus. That data will then be used to build a stronger and healthier school environment.
Which is good. Which is good because we have to make sure that we combat bullying. And one of my main goals is to stop bullying and speak up. Which is why I have a group on Facebook dealing with issues like this. So I am glad that something had to be done. Alright. A hurricane led to a nationwide IV shortage. And now it's affecting all the Coastal Bend hospitals. Now, why would that happen and which hospitals are affected? Here's my good friend Tony Halamir.
Hurricane Helene caused significant damage to Baxter International's North Cove manufacturing facility in North Carolina, which produces a large portion of the U.S. supply of IV solutions. Krista Spahn says they are not being affected by the shortage. An ER nurse at Corpus Christi Medical Center Dr. Regional's campus tells us their hospital is experiencing an IV shortage. Corpus Christi Medical Center responding in a statement saying, quote, "We have what we currently need. We'll continue to monitor the situation, and we have contingency plans to help ensure we maintain adequate supplies." Driscoll Children's Hospital was unavailable for comment. We'll be sure to keep you updated. On the South Side, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Tony Hadamio, Chris 6 News.
There ain't nothing to complain about. I mean, it's just a thing. So, I need to raise the panic button up here. If you had to press the panic button, it would be to where, you don't have anything done. But now I'm going to tell you the story about a man who was burned, who suffered second-degree burns. And I think you'll find the story shocking. Once again, here's my good friend, Tony Halamir.
I was actually getting into my car to go get my wife and I lunch, and I'd realized that I smelled something burning. And with moments, I'm speaking of splits of a second, the car had indulged in flames.
In what Ballard called a freak accident, he says the tank of his car exploded.
I spoke to one of the fire investigators. He said, everything sounds about right. It looks like the fuel tank did expand and explode.
He was still covered in flames after getting out of the car.
I looked down. Both my arms are on fire. I saw fire all over my legs. My shirt and my shorts were on fire.
After quickly stopping, dropping, and rolling, the fire on his body was put out, but it soon spread to the townhome itself. Without a second thought, he quickly ran upstairs to get his wife out.
They couldn't really wrap their mind around the fact that I was able to come from such a deep fire and go upstairs and get my wife out of the house.
Ballard suffered second-degree burns in several parts of his body. We want to warn you, the following images may be disturbing for some.
Yeah, they did skin grafts on my legs, they did skin grafts on my face, and then on this arm.
After undergoing surgery, Ballard fell into a coma.
My wife said my hands were cold, and I was swollen, and I was just laying there, not really responsive. And there for a while, my mom and My wife thought, maybe I was dead.
Ballard still has a long road to recovery.
Can't sleep at night. My legs itch terribly. God, they itch terribly.
The father of two tells us they've been staying in hotels while they search for a more permanent home.
The 5-year-old is having the toughest time. 'Cause she's aware. She knows what's going on. My kids have been through a lot lately.
If you'd like to help Bryce Ballard and his family, visit our website, christv.com. From the South Side, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Tony Jaramillo, Chris 6 News.
Sounds like people can use a good hand when it comes to something like this. So if you try to help out in situations like this, you could make a big difference. It doesn't make you a hero, but you can be very helpful. And in some cases, it's like, with this guy, he survived with some burns, and it led to him finding some help. So find the story on the website, and you can get some help. You can help him out, and even some cases, you too can make a difference. No matter what it can be. Alright. Still to come, the story from Project Baltimore that we told you about back on Monday. As we continue our series, Crisis in the Classroom. Please stay with us. We focused in on a lot of dress codes throughout the years of this broadcast. But this one happened back in July as they continue to press in for more dress codes. But can it lead to discrimination with new rules happening? Take a look at this story.
It may be midsummer, but schools across the country are debating new dress code rules for fall. In suburban Pittsburgh, students in one district will now be required to wear solid color tops and bottoms. The goal? To bring back structure. In El Paso, some kids will be banned from wearing all black out of concern the color increases depression. And in the nation's largest school district, New York City,
making sure that it's inclusive to, represent different cultures, body types, and genders.
concern about discrimination against some students. Right now, each school in the city makes its own rules. So what's allowed at one school
I wasn't allowed to wear crop tops or shorts up to the knee.
could be against the rules at another.
They were strict on uniform, extremely strict, so certain color shoes, shirt.
And critics say it's students of color and those identifying as LGBTQ who are most punished for violations. So the city is now demanding more consistent rules across all schools. Bullying is one reason why more schools nationwide are choosing to require student uniforms. 1 in 5 public schools now require them, supporters saying they're cost-effective and reduce distractions. But they're far from a perfect solution. A recent study found girls are nearly 10% less likely to get enough exercise if they wear uniforms, because the formal outfits can be physically limiting.
In the wake of the pandemic, some districts, including Indianapolis, have gone the other way, relaxing dress codes. Supporters saying kids shouldn't have to miss class because they're wearing the wrong outfit. Andrea Fuji, ABC News, New York.
Let's look at that again. Not the whole thing. There were some clips. There's a clip in there.
City is now demanding more consistent rules. Right now, type, color in El Paso. Some kids will be banned from wearing all black out of concern the color increases depression.
Black can lead to depression? What is this? Black people not allowed to wear black shirts? That's racist. That is racism. That to me is racist. All black link not to depression, sure, but that's not the cause of depression. It's a potential not to define a sign of it. You think they would intentionally not ban it so they might be able to identify when a student might need help. But then again, that would take school administrators and district leaders to think students as individuals, not numbers. scrubs, comfortable. Cover needs to be covered, and nobody looks good in them. It's a debate that goes on every day about school uniforms. But the trouble is, it's like if you try to relax dress code, I mean, you increase distraction to the learning environment. That's just all schools across the country. Now in New York City public schools, they're probably doing this. They're going to be enforcing more dress codes. Let's take a look.
Switch gears now, as when classes start back up again in the fall, public school students here in the city should be prepared for a new dress code policy. News 12's Noelle Lilly tells us what changes the city council made for your students this week.
Yeah, well, when I was in school way back then, our dress code policy seemed to focus mostly on girls and feminine presenting people. Things like no short skirts, no yoga pants. Well, now these new policies are hoping to make things a lot less gendered and a lot more equal. Yesterday, the City Council passed new laws that could mean more freedom for student expression and more transparency from schools. The Department of Education now has to post dress code policies on its website, as well as publish reports about dress code violations in school and about the race and gender of students who are being penalized. There's also a new resolution that asks the DOE to create a universal dress code that considers the diverse cultures, gender expressions, and body diversity of city public school students. Local council members like Diana Ayala and Althea Stevens, who made this law a reality, say that in the past, dress codes targeted students of color, girls, and LGBTQ kids. I asked Bronx residents what they think.
At the end of the day, even though we might be shared beliefs, we're also individuals at our cores. Clothing is also a form of expression, it's how we choose to, show who we are to the world.
Now, I did get a chance to get the opinion of a few teenagers, the people that will be affected by this. Now, they couldn't talk to me on camera because they were under the age of 18 and their parents weren't around, but one young lady I spoke to was wearing a hijab, the religious headscarf, and she says that she thinks these new policies could make school a lot more inclusive and tolerant for people like her. For now, in Parkchester, Noelle Lilly, News 12 The Bronx.
And only in New York could they pass a state law to bring more discipline in our classrooms. Only in New York. You can't. Only in New York. Only in New York. You can't miss it. Take a look.
Yeah, well, starting this school year, if your child misbehaves, you may end up being requested to meet with your child's teacher, and in some cases, your child may be kicked out of school quicker than they would have before. Earlier this year, State Superintendent Dr. Cade Brumley announced his new Let Teachers Teach initiative, and a key part of it was re-implementing effective disciplinary action in the classroom.
One of the most prominent concerns I had from teachers was simply distractions to the classroom.
Two new state laws passed by the legislature this previous legislative session looks to help aid his initiative. One of them, Act 400, requires you to meet with your child's teacher before they can return to the classroom after they've been removed 3 times for disruptive behavior. It also says leaders cannot discriminate or retaliate against a teacher that's looking to provide an orderly classroom.
Every teacher wants the opportunity to teach free from distraction, and this year, thanks to a couple of new laws, I think they're going to have more autonomy in the classroom to be able to deal with discipline issues that arise.
The other law, Act 337, adds expulsion requirements for incidents involving knives and drugs. It also says 6th through 12th graders suspended a 3rd time within the same school year for any offense, with the exception of dress code violations and tardiness, will be recommended for expulsion.
The laws that were passed had overwhelming support to try to restore additional order.
East Baton Rouge Superintendent Lamont Cole sat down with me today to assure us that his staff will be ready to implement these new laws on day one.
We're prepared in the first 3 weeks of school as students get settled and families get settled. We're going to make sure we provide all of that information to our families so they know what to expect, know what the new laws are, and know how our school systems are to be governed.
And although Cole says the new student handbook reflecting these new laws has yet to be sent out to parents, he says they will be at some point next week, but wants to make sure teachers understand what's expected first.
Because once those questions start, we want to make sure as parents engage with school leaders at school that the school leaders are informed and know and understand, and so that we can have a very, very robust, seamless conversation about what's to be expected.
So after wrapping up our interview, Dr. Brumley said he's also going to be looking at additional recommendations to improve classroom discipline down the road. Guys.
All right, Chris Rosato, thank you. Other new laws also taking effect tomorrow include one.
That's just part of the state laws from New York City. So if you want more information about these laws, just go to your state's website and you can find more. Throughout the past several days, we focused in on Project Baltimore. The city of Baltimore, Maryland, is failing our kids. Now, why is that? When we come back, there's a huge problem. Thousands more students are missing school. And Chris Papps has that story. Stay with us. Throughout the past several days, we've been showing you what Baltimore City schools are doing to fail the Baltimore City children. It's happening in Baltimore, Maryland. There's more. How would you describe being absent for 60 days straight and then still passing? Well, this lawsuit right here was settled by one person. This person sued the school district. And just this week, that lawsuit was settled. And after Project Baltimore and the Sun started looking into this, the Baltimore City School District decided to release all those public records. As we've shown you, Baltimore has violated state law by not releasing public records, which is a perfect violation of state law, which they did. But what happened was basically, it was all black text. The data we're about to show you tonight could even lead your child to even being absent for over 60 days and still being able to pass their classes. Sorry. So why is it that the Baltimore City School District would even let their students pass with 60 absences, excused or unexcused, and I let them make up their days? Here's Chris Papps.
Baltimore's greatest problem, I've saying this for decades, it doesn't seem to resonate, is education.
Carl Stokes is a former city council member and charter school operator in Baltimore. And he feels this Baltimore City Schools attendance data, just obtained by Fox 45 News, is a serious concern.
If the kids aren't in the classroom, they can't learn, regardless of how good a teacher may be, regardless of how good the curriculum may be.
These numbers are not released publicly. Fox 45 obtained them after filing a motion to intervene in a civil lawsuit against city schools filed by Baltimore resident Giovanni Patterson. The data are for 53 of Baltimore's roughly 160 schools. Here's what the data show. Augusta Fells Savage High School in West Baltimore, during the 22-23 school year, had 305 students. 111 of them were not promoted to the next grade, while 194 were promoted. But look at this. Of those 194 promoted students, 70 of them missed 60 school days or more. Those students missed at least a third of the entire 180-day school year. Yet, they were promoted. Look at Mergenthaler High School in Northeast Baltimore. Of the more than 1,600 students in the school, 634 were not promoted. 634 students failed. And of the students who were promoted, 173 missed 60 school days or more.
It's a huge problem because it says that the kids are coming out of class, out of a semester, out of a particular grade, or even out of school entirely, undereducated.
But the problems are not limited to high schools. At the historic Cherry Hill Elementary Middle School, 573 students were promoted in the 22-23 school year. 116 of those students missed 60 days of school or more. The numbers are similar at Franklin Square Elementary Middle, where 19% of the students who were promoted missed 60 school days or more. At Dr. Bernard Harris Senior Elementary, 18.5% of the promoted students missed at least a third of the school year.
It's pretty stunning because you know that the kids are being promoted who have not had a proper education. They just can't miss a third of the school year and be able to move forward.
North Avenue declined an interview, but did send us this statement concerning attendance that is nearly a page and a half long. We posted the entire statement on our website, but it said in part, City Schools has worked tirelessly to improve student attendance, and the Board of School Commissioners refuses to give up on students with imperfect attendance. The statement explained there are many reasons why a student could miss a significant amount of school, yet be promoted. The student could have disabilities or health issues that impact attendance, or the student, according to city schools, could have participated in summer school or other credit recovery programs.
So I think a lot of these credit recovery programs are bogus. These kids are realizing that they don't have to do the work.
Credit recovery programs allow students to quickly make up the work they missed. The programs are often held on Saturdays or after school. One of the main problems with credit recovery programs, according to Stokes, is that it sends the wrong message to the students who do attend class every day.
If it's easy to have these credit recovery programs and you miss 60 or 90 days of school, why even have 180 days of school? Just have credit recovery programs.
No, of course it doesn't make sense. To the kids who have good sense, they'll figure out quickly why come.
As we mentioned, the individual school level data we have is for only about a third of the schools in Baltimore City. Fox 45's legal counsel Chase Bales has filed a public records request to get the data for the remainder of the schools. Bales said in a statement, "The information we received through the Patterson lawsuit is deeply troubling and is likely only a small picture of a larger issue. We are committed to obtaining these records for the benefit of the public." Fox 45 News will stay on this story. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
I'm Kai Jackson. Thank you for watching. Here's another video to watch. Also, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel.
200 views and 7 comments. The special education system is broken. When kids are labeled difficult, they're held to a different standard basis on achievement and educational goals versus achievement of classroom credits and grades. Two completely different expectations. Dumbing down at its bestest, it comes to consequences. More teachers being laid off, school children not getting the proper education. Interesting. Don't y'all have a teen crime program? Teachers and school staff should get paid by the performance of the students and schools they work at. Nobody is paying attention. The high school kids are the worst. They come and go as they please. They have ruined the school system. They always talk about getting the root of the problem when it comes to crime. But where you have it right here. These kids don't go to school anywhere. And then what do you think they're doing all day? Crime, drugs, sex, and more. All their parents are nowhere to be found or don't even care. If that happens to you, parents, you need to stay strong here. If your child's not going to school, you need to tell them what's the problem. Dig deeper and say, if it's because of drugs and or alcohol, you need to get the detox. You need to get the detox immediately. Because it's a very serious issue. And I'm not an alcoholic. My dad drinks, but he's not an alcoholic. I'll tell you this straight up, I care. And it's why I do shows like this to get to the bottom. It's a huge problem. They miss school but still promote it? Come on. Look, in Texas we have the 90% rule, which means you have to be in school 90% of the time. If you're in school, then you'll get your credit. So if you're in school 90% of the time, you get your credit. But if you don't get your 90%, you don't. If you don't get your 90%, you don't get your credit. So look at this so far. 305 students. 11 of them were not promoted to the next grade. 194 were promoted. I mean, look at this data. Let me zoom in here. There you go. All this data right here that you see, all of these were requested by public officials, which then violated state law and led to the lawsuit. All right, now. So this is the whole entire statement. All the students who may have credits to participate in summer school or other credit programs, students with disabilities who have IEPs to address disabilities that may impact attendance. This subset of students includes those with the most significant cognitive disabilities who attend school with a certificate program or rather than a high school diploma. Thus, they would be inappropriate to identify academic intention because they will not ultimately receive a high school diploma. Students of school will be hospitalized or recovering treatment for significant health issues, but make academic progress, including participation in schools and programs. Students with high mobility and are homeless because of in-state supervised care and require significant support and ensure educational disability as mandated by state and federal law. Students who are pregnant or parenting students who require accommodations under state and federal law. Also of note, the period of data you renewed during the 2021-2022, our students were returning to in-person instruction. Number of students who missed a class declined during the subsequent school year, which was last year, which was 2 years ago. This outcome was due to our tireless efforts to address chronic absenteeism and attendance gaps. That's the whole statement. So when you're dealing with attendance issues, it's like one word: truancy. Nobody knows that big word. Every state has that law which says you're required to go to school every day. Not just state law, there's federal law. Your child has to attend some type of school, homeschool, online school, whatever, some type of school. In one state, if that didn't happen, then you'd be violation of the law. Like the two parents, since 2005, these parents allowed their kids to miss more school. And what it led to them doing was, them missing school and them getting arrested. But in February, the mom had to sign a tenants agreement saying that she would require the children to go to school or to be sent to jail. But their excuse was, we don't have a working alarm clock. It's like, come on. It's just like this, No one knows. When we come back, a student missed the first 140 days of school, but he was marked present and passed his classes. So the question is, why would he be present when he was absent and still pass his classes when he was absent? Stay with us. Welcome back to Give Me a Break, Crisis in the Classroom, where, because of Project Baltimore, we're doing our special series called Crisis in the Classroom. We look at educators happening not just in Baltimore, but in every city we look at. Because of Project Baltimore, that's why I decided to do this special. To be on the side of Baltimore. As kids get the education they need. So far I looked at attendance. Now you're about to meet a student. And this student alone has missed 140 school days. 140! Come on! You're at like a 80%, 80 to 70 to 80% absentee rate. If that happens to you, you're unexcused. If your child is unexcused, then you gotta do something about this. Remember Everybody Hates Chris, where Chris was late, and Miss Willow told him if he's late again, he has to repeat the grade. Well, that probably never happened because he dropped out to get his GED. This is a whole different. In the case of this student which you'll meet tonight, that 140 days was marked present, and he still passed his classes. What was going on? Take a look.
I can see you. You're in front of me.
I'm excited for him.
Quante Spearman is getting ready for his first day of 11th grade. On the 141st day of the school year.
I'm just glad that he's not sitting here all day, not being productive.
Quante has physical disabilities. He attends Connections, a charter school in West Baltimore. With a 3.7 grade point average, he has thrived until this year.
Do you feel like you've lost a year of your life?
Yeah. He missed the first 140 days because city schools could not provide him with a nurse, which is required under his federally mandated IEP, or Individualized Education Program.
Just in case, medically, if anything were to happen.
Without a nurse, Quante could not attend school in person, but he wasn't learning virtually either. So what was he doing for 140 days? City Schools tells Project Baltimore in August the family chose to return to in-person learning. But by the time Quante learned he would not have a nurse due to a shortage, the deadline to sign up for virtual learning had passed. City Schools offered a special virtual learning option, but the family says it was just Google Classroom assignments with no instruction from a teacher. His IEP, updated in January, confirms this, stating Quante has been unable to attend school in person this school year due to BCPSS's lack of nurses, and Connections is currently not able to provide a complete virtual learning program. In March, his mother requested his school records, expecting the most recent ones to be from spring 2021. The last time Quante was in school.
I wasn't even expecting to get a report card. There's nothing to put on one.
But this is his report card through March 1st, 2022. In the first semester of this school year, according to his report card, Quante passed 5 classes, including Modern World History and Spanish. In physics, he somehow earned a B-.
Do you remember taking physics? No. S. Brooks is also your teacher for performance. You don't know who that is?
No. This report card says he passed Algebra 2 with a D. His teacher even wrote, Quante is a pleasure to teach, with his quality of work improving.
He shouldn't have any grades on there because he has not been to school.
But according to Quante's report card, he has been in school. He was marked present 33.5 days in the first quarter, even though he was never in class. Not one day. His family says those attendance numbers are falsified.
Absolutely, he has not been. So how can he have any sort of, it should be however many days we're into the school year, that's how many days should be listed as absent.
The day after Project Baltimore spoke with this family, Quante's mother received a call. A nurse was now available. After 140 days,
are you picking up a Quante?
Her son could go to school.
There you go.
But Project Baltimore wanted to know how a student could be marked present and receive grades when he wasn't in school. North Avenue declined an interview, saying CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises would not speak with us. Instead, we received a statement confirming Connections violated City Schools' policies on attendance and grading, adding, the school will correct those violations. The statement also says the school board is disappointed and exploring additional ways to ensure the operator meets its commitment to our students. But the statement does not explain how this happened and how many students it happened to. So we went to a recent public event that Dr. Santelises was scheduled to attend. She never arrived, but 2 board members did.
Excuse me, board member?
After the event was over,
Well, my name's Chris Papps. I'm with Fox 45 News.
they refused to answer our questions.
Here, but you didn't show up? Harassment. Now, I would just like to ask you a question as a member of the Baltimore City School Board. Ma'am, you're a member of the school board. Can I just ask you a question about... There's a young man named Quante Spearman who has been greatly impacted by what happened by his school.
Sorry, you're being disruptive here.
I don't think we're being disruptive. I think the event has happened. I'm just trying to ask you a question about the situation that... As a school board member, why don't you speak with the media? Why won't you grant interviews? Isn't that part of your job?
Mr. Papps, we've issued a statement around both of the matters you asked me about this morning, and I would respectfully ask that you refer back to the statements that we've already issued. Thank you.
What makes you sad?
The fact that I can't see my friends and I can't get to do anything that the school do in person that I can't do.
With the 3.7 GPA he used to have, Quante planned to graduate on time and become a mechanic.
Basically,
But now, the future is uncertain.
I just want my son to know that I didn't fail him. I've done everything all his life that I could do to make sure he's good. And that's always going to be my fight.
You can read City Schools' entire statement on our website, foxbaltimore.com. But there are still many unanswered questions surrounding this story. How many students are being affected by the nursing shortage and cannot go to school? Should school systems have to pay taxpayer money back for student services that are not being delivered? Why did Connections give a student grades and attendance he clearly did not earn? Is that illegal? We will stay on this story. I'm Chris Papst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Okay. To better understand this, everybody's like commenting. This guy with 300,000 views. 300,000 views. The school needs to be investigated. Could it be a chance to try to... It's time to federal dollars? This is completely unacceptable. We pay taxes. Get the student a nurse. Pro guarantee the 3.7. Those jerks not only falsified grades. The people that falsify these grades, they need to be fired. They gotta be fired. Once they're fired, then they'll go to the next step. Alright. Now I'm about to meet a mother who's pulling her daughter who watched a Fox 45 report and then tried to pull her and had her daughter pulled out of school after she saw the story. What was the story about and why would you do that? Again, Chris Papps.
I went to Patterson High School.
It's been more than 30 years
The old Patterson High School.
since she was a student.
Used to be right there. Better construction going on.
Now she's a mother who fears history
We're trying to transfer our daughter.
is about to repeat itself.
We're trying to transfer her out of Patterson.
Vonda Linda Biggis was born and raised in Baltimore by a single mother who had her at 15, the same age her daughter is now. Vonda Linda went to Patterson High School in the 80s. the same school her daughter now attends as a 9th grader.
Do you feel like you got the education you needed?
No, I don't. All I just want is just my kid to be educated. This is really difficult for me.
Patterson High School is one of the largest high schools in Baltimore, but a recent Fox 45 News investigation found most of the students, according to one assessment, are far behind in math and reading.
These numbers are alarming.
Project Baltimore obtained iReady scores from this source, a school teacher at Patterson, who we are not identifying because they fear retaliation. And leading the way is iReady. iReady is used to determine at which grade level a student is performing. And at Patterson High School, the numbers are devastating. In reading, 628 Patterson High School students took the test. Just 12 students tested were reading at grade level. 12. And when it comes to math, the numbers are just as alarming. 575 high schoolers were tested, but just 17 of those students tested at algebra and geometry level math, courses required to graduate.
How does a student who reads at an elementary school level get to high school?
Yeah, they just pushing them through. Because they just pushed me through. It's just pushing them through. My heart is like, it just ached because I feel like our kids, they're being set up for failure.
Vonda Linda never finished high school. She dropped out and struggled for years to support herself. It wasn't until she became an adult that she went back to school, learning the skills for a better job. Now, she worries her daughter will make the same choices that will send her down the same path.
I want to make sure that the same thing does not happen. I did a lot to rebuild my life.
Have you seen your daughter's iReady test results?
No.
I have them.
Okay.
Do you want to know them?
Yes.
Baltimore City Schools does not give parents the results of iReady assessments, but Project Baltimore has the scores for every student who took the assessment at Patterson High School.
Your daughter's doing math and reading at a higher level.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a relief to hear that?
Yeah, it is. I mean, somewhere along the line that I did my job. My daughter is beautiful, she's shy, she's smart, and I wish she just realized it.
As her iReady scores show, Vonda Linda's daughter was ready for high school when she entered Patterson. She had good grades in middle school, but something changed, and quickly.
By the time I got her report card, her grades had dropped tremendously.
She began to fall behind, acting out, getting into fights, with few consequences.
She was asked to write an essay on what she expected out of Patterson. And in this essay, my kid wrote that the teachers did not really care. The kids are basically doing what they want without anything happening.
This mother says the school is chaotic and her daughter's potential is at risk.
Because she's gonna understand like this is gonna impact her future. Like what you do now, it follows you. I don't want you to get stuck inside of a square. I want you to be somebody's baby mother. I want you to take and be the best that you can be at whatever it is that you choose to be. Because I'm not gonna be with her forever. And I'm getting older and she's just beginning. So what you do from this day forth, it follows you on into adulthood. That's if you make it.
Which is why she's here, correcting a mistake now.
I made a bad choice when I placed my daughter there.
And changing course, getting her daughter into a new school before it's too late.
Yeah, it's time to go. It's time to go.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
All right. Coming up, a student misses 96 days of school, but what does that report card show? Stay with us. And also, that investigation for money after a Project Baltimore investigation. Students with disabilities are now receiving services. We'll give you that update. Stay with us. Forgery, fake grades, fake attendance. Could your child have those things? If you live in Baltimore City and witnessed it from your child, you may be one of those who watched the Project Baltimore series. You're about to meet a student who missed 96 straight school days. But there's a twist. That report card, what you're about to see, is forged. And forgery is very serious. Once again, here's Chris Paffs.
This is Shy Waddle.
Say thank you.
Thank you.
And he is...
Hey, wait, Shy, you can't...
Well...
He's somewhat shy, yes.
No.
Can we make a trip to Dad's house afterwards?
No.
But, he's outgoing. Once he gets comfortable, he's outgoing.
Shy just finished his first grade year at Marianne Winterling Elementary in West Baltimore. An entire school year his mother considers a complete waste.
It's been a nightmare, honestly. Just a nightmare.
Shy has an IEP, or Individualized Education Program. IEPs are federally funded and mandated. They lay out a plan for schools to provide extra services for children with disabilities. Shy has autism.
Have a seat.
Ebony Frisbee says her son is not getting the services in his IEP. But what she says is even more concerning is between September and November, this 6-year-old wandered out of school 5 times.
They kept losing him. He'll be down the street or across the street.
Who found him?
His dad or me.
On November 17th, the scary reality of what could happen set in. That afternoon, a police incident sent Winterling Elementary into lockdown, and Frisbee says Shy could not be found.
We were all terrified. The school was on lockdown, and nobody knew where he was.
Shy was eventually located inside the building, but Frisbee says she could no longer trust the school to keep her son safe. That day, November 17th, this mother pulled her son out, which is documented in Shy's IEP.
There's no point of putting him in zone if they're not even going to follow IEP or let me know that he's going to be safe.
Frisbee tried to transfer Shy to City School's virtual learning program, but she was told the deadline to sign up had passed. She also applied for a safety transfer to Mount Washington Elementary. It didn't go through. Frisbee says she tried to work with Winterling, but the school could not guarantee her son's safety. So for the next 96 school days, Shy stayed home.
But your son, Shy missed basically...
his whole school year. Yeah. I'm honestly outraged with it, but I'm like, what options do I have at this point? Because clearly sending him to school, there's a safety issue.
After the district threatened Frisbee with truancy charges, Shy returned to school on April 25th. Then, to her surprise, when she received Shy's report card, even though he missed 96 straight days, he received grades in the second quarter, including a P for proficient in drama, the highest possible grade for his age. And he was marked present 16 days during the middle of the year.
It's been falsified. He hasn't been there. He hasn't done any of the work since he's been out.
In 12 of his 18 classes during the second semester, Shy received no grade. NTQ means not taught this quarter. Yet, Shy was promoted. In August, he'll be in second grade.
I don't want him in second grade, and I'm not saying it to like down my son because he's great
and he's smart, but I'm like, he's just not ready. They're just pushing him along.
Shy is now the 5th student Project Baltimore has recently reported on who attends a 4th city school who missed a significant amount of class time, yet received a report card with falsified information. All 5 students have special needs. North Avenue will not interview with Project Baltimore. For this story, the district sent us a statement saying this mother is wrong. The statement stated, there are a number of inaccuracies in the data you have about the student. All absences were properly recorded on student records. Additional work assignments were given and completed.
Bull. Excuse my French. But it's wrong. And I find it really foul. I know when my child is in school and I know when he's not in school. And November to April, he's been with me.
Frisbee tells Project Baltimore she is disgusted that city schools will not take responsibility and instead is blaming her.
My child was out of school. My child lost time, and you're going to try and double back and say it's my fault. It's not my fault. And it's honestly, you guys are horrible people for that.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
And I believe she's right. It's the school's fault. Look, I know you make exceptions I know schools make exceptions for people with disabilities, including myself. I mean, I'm special needs. We have a special education program here in our district. And if this district falsified grades, we would know about it. And schools will sit there and say, well, because of this report, we're going to have to make some changes. Well, Baltimore City needs to start making some changes, otherwise they're going to start pulling these kids out and moving them to different schools in different states. I'd recommend that you move your child out of Maryland and move to a different state with better education. Texas, Fire Bluff, great school district, 15,000 views in 2 years. Now here's another Baltimore student who missed school. But first, a state finds Baltimore City schools violating federal rights of a disabled student. Violating the rights. Take a look.
Well, since the start of last year, Baltimore City schools have been hit by several scandals. Last April, Fox 45 News uncovered a scheme to inflate student enrollment at Augusta Fells Savage High School. This past April, Maryland's Inspector General for Education released a report finding taxpayers paid more than $10 million to educate city students who were enrolled but not attending school. And then just last month, another Inspector General report found more than 12,000 failing grades were improperly changed to passing over a 4-year period.
Now a new scandal is emerging in Baltimore City public schools following a Fox 45 report. A state investigation found city schools violated federal law. Project Baltimore's Chris Pabst reports it involved the education of a student with disabilities, and there could be more.
Life has been extremely hard. All right, what's next?
Whitney Davis and her son Darian are barely getting by.
There are days where I go without eating so that I can feed my children.
For them, Baltimore and its school system are making life harder.
I've thought about leaving the city. Okay. Keep going.
Darian has epilepsy.
You want to do the last one?
This past school year, he was in first grade at Pimlico Elementary. This 7-year-old, under federal law, is required to have a private duty nurse at school because of his disability. But citing a nursing shortage, city schools did not have a nurse for Darian, so he stayed home for most of the year, forcing Davis to quit her job.
It's an end.
Project Baltimore first spoke with Darian and his mother in May. At the time, he had missed nearly the entire school year, yet his report card showed he had perfect attendance in the first semester. Davis knew something was wrong.
I felt like this would be some type of justice for Darian.
Federal education law is enforced by the states, so Davis filed a complaint with the Maryland State Department of Education, or MSDE, saying her son's federal education rights were violated by the school system.
My hopes for filing my complaint, where so that Darian could get the proper education and the nurse that he needs, and to hold the school system accountable for what they're doing.
Davis filed that complaint in May after she first interviewed with Fox 45. She alleged that city schools broke federal law by failing to provide Darian with the education he is entitled to under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. This is MSDE's final report. Following this investigation, the state found a violation occurred.
I think that it's absolutely disgusting. And when his adult life gets started, you can imagine that it's going to be a lot of repercussions due to him just being passed on. Like, nobody cares.
In enforcing federal law, the State Department of Education is requiring North Avenue by September 1st to correct the violation and develop a plan to help Darian catch up in school. The state is also requiring by October 1st, North Avenue takes steps to ensure that Pimlico Elementary better educates all students with disabilities so violations do not recur. City schools must provide quarterly monitoring reports on Pimlico for 1 year through June 2023. Failure to comply by city schools, according to the state, could result in the withholding of funds.
The school system did violate your son's rights. What should happen?
Honestly, I feel like somebody needs to go to jail because you're falsifying documents.
Is there a particular reason that Dr. Santelises or a board member won't do an interview with us?
City Schools, for months, has refused to interview with Project Baltimore about Darian or the other students with disabilities we've reported on who missed most of the school year, yet received report cards with fake grades and attendance.
We provide you a written statement in our report. Are we entitled to do that, Chris?
For this story, City Schools again refused to interview and sent us a statement. A 2-sentence statement that said this. As MSDE acknowledged, City Schools identified that a misstep occurred in how the parent was notified. Proper corrective steps were taken. The state of Maryland called what happened to Darian a violation of federal law. City Schools refer to what happened as a misstep.
I think that they're just trying to cover up the fact that they've been collecting money all this time and weren't supposed to. I'm very disappointed. Very. This has taken so much of my life.
Project Baltimore reached out to the other families we have featured who have students with disabilities and say they have not received the education they deserve under federal law. Those families have also expressed interest in filing complaints with the state. If they do, we'll keep you updated on the results. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Everybody has rights. Everyone wants education. It's like the superintendent and drill sergeant. Attend! I want you to fake grades. I want you to cover everything up. And we don't even care. As you were. It's like you don't even care. And go back to superintendent. I want all you board members never to talk to the media. I want all this shit covered up, and I don't want nothing left out. Y'all understand? So yes, sir. At ease. Look, I get it. Everybody wants their education. But that's the wrong way to do so. Tampering with grades, faking everything, you know? Everything's faked. You know? It's not a misstep, it's in violation of a state law. It's in violation. Direct violation of that state law. That's what it needs to be. And not covering it up. Not saying your statement, it was a misstep. It was a misunderstanding. It was not a misunderstanding. You violated. You have violated the law. And look, you say the phrase "you violated the law," and they can sit there and say, "Well, I didn't know about this. We don't violate the law. No. We never violate state law." Well, you would set the amendments with these. You would set the amendments. Well, okay. Well, we have evidence here that you violate this state law. You violate this state law. You violate this law, that law. You fake report cards. You would set the school amount of evidence, and they're going to sit there and say, okay. You can sit there and say, well, if you're not going to correct this, we'll pull our child out of school, and we'll take you straight to the state of education. It's like, okay. We'll fix it. Please. Money. It's money and cover-ups happening. When we come back, a third Baltimore student can't attend school. He was denied virtual, but yet gets a false report card. It's the third student. And what about those other kids? Don't go away. Would you find a solution to help out your child with special needs in a classroom? Well, if we're about to show you the Maryland from Baltimore, they're not doing a damn thing but falsifying records. Falsifying report cards and attendance and parents of the uphill saying, that never happened. And people saying, well, it's just a misunderstanding. When in fact there was a misunderstanding, it was just people who don't know how to work the system. Again, Chris Papps.
Pick the dinosaurs and stuff.
Denisha Johnson never graduated from Baltimore City schools.
I felt like the school system gave me no help.
In 11th grade, she dropped out.
As much as I cried out for it, nothing.
Now, her 6-year-old son, Jaleel Williams, is in kindergarten in city schools.
Mommy! He's shy, but he's a good kid.
But Johnson says what happened to her as a student,
Mommy!
is already happening to him.
Can I go to school tomorrow? City schools has failed me. I don't want that for my son either, because I want my son to start from the start line and get to the finish line.
Jaleel has severe persistent asthma. During the second week of school in September, he developed an upper respiratory infection so bad, his doctor wrote Pimlico Elementary asking that Jaleel attend school virtually. Being around other students who could be sick is dangerous for him, but his mother says the school would not allow him into the formal virtual program because the deadline to sign up had passed.
I think it was some BS, excuse my language, because he needed virtual. They had no compassion, nothing. I begged them for virtual for him. Pray in your playground.
When Jaleel was denied virtual learning, Johnson says she enrolled him in Home and Hospital, which provides instruction to students who are hospitalized or cannot attend school for medical reasons. It's meant to be a short-term solution. But Johnson says no one ever showed up.
Not one time. Nobody never came here.
For the entire first semester, Jaleel received worksheets from the school, which this kindergartner was expected to do without a teacher. Johnson said her son has not received any instruction since he left school in September, 8 months ago.
This whole school has been a waste.
So you can imagine Johnson's surprise when she received Jaleel's report card. In the first semester, he was marked present 82 days, with 7 days absent, and he received the highest possible grade in most of his classes. According to this report card, kindergarten has not been a waste for Jaleel. It says he's doing great.
When I got the report card, I looked at it and I said, my son's name is on here, but the report card is definitely false because he hasn't even been here. He hasn't even met this teacher.
Baltimore City Schools this year did offer a complete virtual learning program for students K through 12, but the deadline to sign up was August 3rd, and the district did not make exceptions for students like Jaleel, who is now the third student we've recently interviewed who could not attend school in person this year because of health concerns. Yet none of them were allowed into the virtual learning program. And then they received false report cards.
Is there a particular reason that Dr. Santelises or a board member won't do an interview with us?
Yes, because we provide you a written statement in our report. Are we entitled to do that, Chris?
City schools will not do an interview with Project Baltimore on this topic, but we believe the families of these 3 students deserve to know. Why does the district have a complete virtual learning program, but not make exceptions to the deadline when a student cannot attend school for medical reasons? And why are the report cards for these 3 students inaccurate? City schools did not answer most of our questions. We received a 3-sentence statement. When students cannot attend in-person learning due to medical requirements, City Schools provides virtual learning options or access to its home and hospital program. While these students were not allowed into the formal virtual learning program, the statement says the options they were given meet state guidelines.
It's absurd. I think Baltimore City is only in there for a check. That's it. They don't care about none of them kids.
Johnson does not know what is going to happen next school year. She fears the school system will simply push her son to 1st grade when he hasn't learned the material in kindergarten. It's the same thing Johnson says happened to her when she was a student in Baltimore City schools.
I know the potential in my son. And it's upsetting when you have a child that's begging to go to school and can't because they don't want to help him.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
God. Okay. One more. And then I'm going to tell you what I think. Let's cut to the chase. Let's just cut to the chase. Here's Chris Pabst.
Roya Hanna is a former prosecutor.
This is government waste and government abuse.
And current candidate for city state's attorney.
And we need to root that out.
Who says Project Baltimore's recent findings concerning Quante Spearman and Darian Flood need to be investigated because she sees a number of laws that could have potentially been violated.
When the legislature appropriates money for a specific task and then that task does not get accomplished, and people are falsifying records, that is something that we need to look into.
Spearman and Flood attend different Baltimore City schools. Both have disabilities that under federal law require them to have a private duty nurse while at school. But throughout the year, city schools often could not provide a nurse, and Spearman and Flood missed a significant amount of class. City schools blames a nursing shortage.
Had I kept my son home from school, I would be in trouble. There would be consequences if I had just kept him out of school for whatever reason.
According to Maryland law, a student is truant when they miss more than 20% of school days without a legal reason. Parents can face $500 in fines or jail time. By law, it appears Spearman and Flood were truant this year, but not because they didn't want to go to school, because the district did not have a nurse for them and didn't provide a complete virtual learning option. So it could be the school system is violating truancy laws.
Correct. So maybe we need to look at holding those people accountable under a conspiracy theory or an accomplice liability theory, because it is not just the mother's fault. It sounds to me like it's not her fault at all.
But it's not just truancy laws that were potentially violated. When these 2 students received their report cards, they contained false information. Spearman passed classes he never took. Both students received attendance for days they were not in class. Hannah says that could be falsifying a government record. Then there's the money. The district's special education budget this year is $207 million. But Spearman and Flood did not get the services taxpayers funded, and federal law requires.
Government has to be held accountable. If a private organization did the exact same thing, took federal money to hire a nurse to comply with the law, and then didn't, they would be brought up on fraud charges.
The potential violations of law could go all the way to our nation's capital. IEPs are part of federal law, with the states providing the oversight. The Maryland State Department of Education told Fox 45 News in a statement, implementation of the IEP is not optional. Students with disabilities are entitled to a free, appropriate public education. But in order to know if any laws have been violated, state or federal, investigations need to happen. Hannah tells Fox 45 News the city state's attorney's office should take the lead.
And I think that government corruption is so rampant in Baltimore that we often just ignore the problem. You know, we see it each and every single day, and it's just so big that people tend to ignore it.
The city state's attorney's office, according to Hannah, should send this matter to a grand jury, subpoena records, utilize economic crimes investigators to find out why these students did not get the education they deserved and why their report cards were inaccurate. Project Baltimore reached out to Marilyn Mosby's office to ask if she is looking into these matters. We did not hear back.
You just need one person who is willing to lead that charge and take this issue on and not stick their head in the sand. Yeah. It's frustrating. And it's a frustrating thing that we keep allowing our kids to fail when we know the consequences.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
You choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. That's the whole key here. This issue order of a town hall meeting at Baltimore City, meaning the speaker talks like this, meaning I'd have the microphone in one hand and saying, maybe like this, you know, what do you think needs to happen here? And, you know, what needs to happen here is we need to start educating people how not to falsify records. Stuff like this can get people into a lot of trouble. Nobody knows that you're not supposed to do those things. Falsifying report cards, attendance records. We all know truancy is against the law. But the fact of the matter is, there you go. The fact of the matter is, no one gives a shit. Nobody cares. And even the Baltimore City School District commented on this video saying, well, you know, what you said was falsifying. We don't want you in our city. Well, I'm not even in your city. I'm outside your city. What you need to understand here is this, you know, education is key, you know. How are kids going to learn if you're falsifying records? If one of your employees came to Chris Pabst and told him what the hell went on, what the hell's going on, then it could be reported. It can be reported, and people can certainly understand why. And people may call it, sit there and say, well, it's misunderstanding. It's not misunderstanding. It's the fact that y'all have violated state and federal laws. And if you violate those laws, it can get you into loads of amounts of trouble. And if you look, and if you say to yourselves, well, we violated the law, we need to fix this for the next school year. No, not by the next school year. You need to fix it before the next school year ends. You can't look back on this and say to yourselves, well, we just don't care. It's all about covering it up and getting away with it. It's exactly what it's all about. Getting away with it. And the fact that nobody gives a damn. You know, you can sit there and say, well, that's not true. Here's what happened. Blah, blah, blah. And the fact that, you know, you won't even accept these children into virtual learning because of the deadline. You need to make exceptions for people with medical disabilities or for medical reasons. You need to make exceptions. When the pandemic came and people had asthma or had religious reasons, they were allowed to have their masks taken off because of medical conditions and or religious reasons. You know? But nobody cares. It's like, we don't care if you're religious or not. Put your mask on. I don't care if you have asthma. Put your mask on. It's like, you're against people with medical conditions. And you can come up here and say, no, 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 no. We are not against that. We support people who have disabilities. It's like your support is costing the Maryland tax people a lot of money. Your cover-up, they're paying you out the butt, and all you're doing is just sitting there, put your hand in the sand, going all. That's how your head would sound if you were talking to the sand. I mean, the thing we have to understand here is this, we all need education. It is the key. It is how we can get our diplomas. It is how we can get our diplomas. It's how we can move on. But if you're going to educate children, you need to do it right and do it better. The way you're doing it is not working. And parents are leaving Maryland and finding other states that have the best education. And I know you guys have been commenting saying, well, you never visit Maryland. Go visit Maryland and go see what it's like. I've seen it via videos. I mean, the whole reason we're doing this special series is because to help out people in desperate needs, and because there's an old saying, desperate times call for desperate measures. And those people had desperate measures. They're the victims in this case, and the schools don't care. They could sit there and sulk about it and say, they just sit there and defend themselves. But there is more. Coming up, Centennial sues Baltimore schools after being... But there's more coming up. There's some happy ending. Baltimore City Schools agrees to answer parent questions of these false report cards are happening. And also the question, that 1 year, what's happening with all these students with all these disabilities? Disabled and denied. That's coming up on Friday. I hope you'll join me for that one. As we continue our special series, Crisis in the Classroom. And also, we're also going to look into registered and enrolled coming up on Saturday. So Friday we have students with disabilities not receiving services, along with disabled and denied, and registered and enrolled. That's on Friday and that's on Saturday. We're still continuing our special Crisis in the Classroom series, and if you like more information about all these issues, we'll put the links in the description below for this video. And if you have a story you'd like to share about when you were, and if you were in Baltimore and you have a story you'd like to share for your education experience, you can post your links in the comments below and we'll feature them on our next Give Me a Break broadcast. On a Give Me a Break Friday or Give Me a Break Saturday. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your stories and I want to hear your reactions. Let's face it, education is falling apart. And we got to do our best to put it back on the map. Because if you don't succeed, your child doesn't succeed in education, they won't succeed in life. And that can mean big problems in the real world. And if you don't do your part to educate your kids about what's right and wrong, without education, we're falling apart. And we're falling apart really hard. That's Give Me a Break for this Wednesday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Friday. For everyone here at YouTube, and Give Me a Break, stop bullying, speak up. Concentration, not strength. No jaywalking. Have a good night.